Okay, so we started with the 50 and 15 project, which is basically a Sonos-based project. You've seen the video for that. And what I want to look at here is DTool supports 4 different page types. There's a line drawing type, there's a plan drawing type, there's an elevation drawing type, and there's a schematic drawing type. And you get one set of drawing characteristics per page type. So you'll see that as we drag some items on, we're going to get a line. We're going to get an image of the product, basically from the small image file on a line drawing page, which we use for what we would call a very simple concept drawing in the proposal phase. You'll get an elevation view. If we go to an elevation like a rack elevation drawing, it's going to be front. It's going to be dimensioned relative to the rack. On a schematic shape, that same item, if it was an amplifier, for instance, is going to have its list of inputs and outputs. So with that being said, when we set up a new client to our data services, obviously we load our product and labor catalog. That's the managed catalog that we provide. But we also think in terms of this, what we call out-of-the-box, ready-to-go instance of DTools. So in order to support that, everything that you see, we provide at the time we turn on a new client. So that means that we'd include this Visio file, which accompanies this a template project. So we provide a template project. We provide a template set of pre-wire packages, like we're going to see when we do the plan view drawing here. And this Visio drawing is what we call pre-tabbed. So basically what we do is we set up a background. So if you look in the Visio tabs, I'm going to assume that there's some experience with Visio. If not, I probably would ask that we do hold those questions for later. But basically what we do is on a background page, we set up the border. And then what we typically do, because background files are generally large, they're image files, we'll clean up the plan view outside of DTools. We do that in Adobe Illustrator, AutoCAD, things of that nature. And we just create a WMF or EMF type file, image file, that we import as a background. And for our purposes in low voltage, this is generally not scaled and doesn't need to be scaled. It can be if you need it to be. That's a whole different process. But for our purposes, I just dropped in an image file, and then on our various drawing pages, then we can reference that background file. So if I come to my line, what I'm doing here is if we go over to the design view, there's a little bit of intelligence built in to this template. So we come over and we look at the page type or page properties, and basically what we're doing here is we're looking at that background main level page. On the main level page, we're actually referencing the background. So in this drawing, even though we have lots of pages with borders and a background, etc., we've only actually dropped one image into the project, and we've only got one background. So when you make your notes and things in here, that'll translate across all your drawings. So if you have to change a room name or a room number, or the background page changes, you don't have to go in and do that multiple times. You can do it on one page, and then all you have to do is just move your stuff around a little bit. So the line drawing type is a drawing that we often use now to accompany the proposal. And what we can do, and when we talk about a concept drawing, the idea here is the proposal report is going to be pages of stuff that we can show the client. It's going to say, in the dining room, you're getting this pair of speakers. In the family room, you're getting this TV, and you're getting these speakers and a remote control. But it's difficult for people to visualize. So DTools gives us the ability to grab, in this case, I'm going to grab my in-ceiling speakers. I'll pull those on. And I just get the little thumbnail file from that object, or for that object, that we use in the database. So in this case, just to tidy it up a little bit, I usually turn off the text for one of these, and then this is just a little text box, basically, that you can draw, and you can start doing this kind of a thing. You can just basically say, okay, Mr. Client, this is what you get in your dining room. If we were to now do the family room, similar approach, I could grab, basically I want to grab the things that they're going to see. So I could grab my remote, I could grab my TV, I could grab my speakers, my sound bar. Whoops, didn't mean to double click. That's going to open the, okay, good. Thought it was going to open up the product editor. So now I can drag these items in, and in similar fashion, basically I can say, okay, well, I've got my TV, I've got my sound bar, got my sub, my rear speakers, and my remote control. Again, I could just grab my little box, Control C, Control V. And so you can do something of this nature very quickly. Now we're going to need to send that to back. How about send it back? There we go. And the idea here is just simply that if you wanted to put something together that's visual for the client, that's a nice, something that maybe your competition's not going to do, you can put something like this together very easily. And in this case, we're leveraging the General tab from DTools with the product image and the make and model number and the component ID. So that's what you can, that's something that we now use quite a bit on a line drawing page. Now, when we get into the actual, so this, we consider this to be generally a pre-proposal or proposal phase thing. When the job gets signed and we actually go to engineering, the most typical, or the three most typical drawings that we do are the rough end plan for getting all the, basically identifying all the wire penetration points, floor, wall, ceiling, and the rough end cabling associated with those, a rack elevation drawing, and a schematic drawing. So in this scenario, if I come to the plan view, this is where we, in our design services team, begin to leverage our pre-wire packages. So in that dining room, I could grab from our, what we call a soft manufacturer. In this case, Pre-Wire is our manufacturer. This is a manufacturer we just made up. It's a function-driven manufacturer. Basically, what we want here is I want a mud ring for a speaker. I'm going to assume that I haven't sold the speakers in this case, so maybe this is a standalone pre-wire. And so I want an allowance for that, but I also, for making the drawings quick and easy, I also want to be able to assign the appropriate icon to these mud rings. Again, getting back to the fact that DTools only allows one set of characteristics per page type, I can only assign one icon to an item. So you'll see when I start to drop multiple items on the page, rather than having to go through and right click and change shape and do things of that nature or use dumb icons, we're actually able to make this drawing more intelligent. So I can grab the pieces from my pre-wire package. This is if you look, this is a pre-wire speaker pair. Drag these into my page. And I'm going to get my in-ceiling speaker brackets, and I'm going to get, now this is where we are using some of the custom Visio stencil shapes that we've made. These icons are from our icon set. They're not a standard DTools icon, but basically all I have to do, and same thing with the wire shapes. We developed these wire shapes over many years of working with pre-wire technicians to try to get a drawing type that was easy to follow and didn't require them bouncing between lots of pages and checklists and things like that. So basically, just like this, I know that I've got a 14.4 speaker. This is its component ID for labeling purposes, and you can print labels for that. This is its head end location, and here it is physically on the page. So in this case, I used for that pre-wire bracket, I used an in-ceiling speaker. But in the family room, I've got more different types of applications. So in here, I've got an HD-based-T extender set up for equipment back in the rack. So I'm going to wire to the display location. So now that, if we look, now that pre-wire bracket becomes what we call a bracket for a video location, and it's got a different icon associated with it. So now I can pull that to where my TV is going to be. I can put my cable on it. Maybe get this out where I can see it a little better. And I can now do the same thing with my speakers. So I can grab all my speaker cable, my RG59 audio cable for the sub, all my speaker pre-wire bracket, or not pre-wire brackets, but mud rings. And all I've got to do now is just place them where I want them. So if the sub's going to be up in this corner, speakers maybe back here behind the can lights for the rear, front channel, maybe we're using a directional type speaker for an in-ceiling surround kind of application. And now, again, all I have to do is connect my wires, and very quickly and easily, like I say, we can build a very functional rough-in plan for our pre-wire technicians. And the only thing I'd do here is probably move these cables around a little bit where they're a little easier to read. Maybe we do something like this. So that is the gist of what we can do with the rough-in plan. So, and I'm just gonna, like I say, I'm gonna motor through the 4 different drawing types just so you can have seen them. I keep wanting to move my wire instead of relocate it. So if we zoom out, basically this is how then the rough-in plan begins to take shape. So now we can get into an elevation shape. We've got 2 different elevations that we like to use. This one for dimensions leverages the fact that we have dimensional data built into the items of our database. And what this allows us to do, we built this drawing primarily to support interior designers and the cabinet guys, especially when you used to have to build TVs or build cabinets around the TVs. Still have to do that to a certain degree. But now if I grab let's say I grab my sound bar and my TV, I can pull those on to this page, and basically I'm able to then give myself a dimension type drawing, or a drawing that I can dimension to give to, to basically show what's going to be in this room. So now if I come over to my my shapes, I can just grab, DTools has a universal dimension shape, and now we can very quickly just Control C, Control V, basically get this thing dimension. And now DTools also gives you a side view. So if we needed to show depth for this, let's say this TV was going to be built into maybe we're going to recess it into the wall. We could show, or we just need to know depth. So we could say DTools shape, generate side view. And we can do the same thing with the speaker bar. And now this gives us the ability to, to show depth as well. So I could do something like this. I can pull the, oops, I just want the text. Dang it. So we get that pulled out. And now we could start to do this sort of thing. And so, this would be a way that you could also show the wall. You could show if you've got a recessed box that needs to go in. So that allows us to use, this is an elevation page in this case. Likewise, now if we were to do racks, I can come down into my rack location. So we make a lot of these head ends or systems. We'll create a location for these. So we have a location for the audio distribution system, a location for the automation and control, automation for racks and power. Technically, these are all at the equipment head end at the rack. We do this just for organizational purposes so we can see more easily what we have in each of those systems. Now, we can leverage some of our building blocks that we use. So as we probably mentioned in demos before, this industry likes to sell kits, and we order kits, but those kits are made up of component parts. In this case, this is a rack system that you can buy through Strong, but in that rack system, there's fans, there's shelves, there's blank vents. So in this case, the parent item is what is sold and ordered, but these tilde items are what we call our do not order items. These are the items that come in the box, but in this case, I actually do want to use some of these for my drawing purposes. So I go ahead and pull these onto the elevation page. And again, this is a set of from our custom stencils. We use a little bit different look for many of our shapes than, now these would be typical, right here would be typical DTools stencils for like these shelves and blank vents. But basically what I can do is kind of get this laid out. Where the change comes in is going to be with the components themselves. Now this thing I think, oh no, here's my, so I might also want to drop my UPS in here. Now this is where, like I say, we color code based on a type of category, and we try to build our racks. Frankly, we just try to make them as easy for the technicians to be able to read and see what's going in, as opposed to using like net zoom stencils, which are photorealistic but frankly difficult to read. So this gives us the information we need. It's a watt box over C UPS 1100 with its component ID. Now, getting back to organizational structure of the proposal, when we have a system like this family room where the equipment is going, the TV, speakers, remote obviously are in the family room, but we've got a surround componentry back at the rack, we create what we call a remote equipment location. And this remote equipment location basically helps me see that it's this Connect, this Apple TV, this cable box, this extender kit, this watt box, and this Sony receiver that are associated with the family room system. So I could go ahead and bring these items that I need for the rack onto my drawing page. And I can just go to work. In this case, I need a little more room for my surround receiver. I could drop my cable box in here, and because I have all my rack shelves accessorized, I can go ahead and build this out and basically know what I'm going to need. So that's the way the rack drawing starts to work. And then we also provide some additional tools in the Visio stencil set that we provide. We have what we call our AD favorites. There's a lot of stencil shapes that we use in here, things that we've built to support different drawing types. A couple of those I've already pulled onto the page. So before D-Tools ever had a rack ruler, we had built our own because it's just helpful to be able to see the rack spacing. And then we also like to kind of give some idea of what the airflow might look like. So we've got these shapes. Now we actually normally use these in the profile view. So we would actually take this rack and we would say, again, we'd leverage the side view. We'd say shape, generate a side view for the rack. Get this moved out a little bit. And we could send that to back. And so this allows us to begin to do something a little like this. So I could do the same thing with especially my deeper components if I wanted to generate a side view and just make sure I've got enough depth. And again, we're leveraging dimensions here. So what I want to see is if this is a 20-inch deep rack, is my equipment going to fit? And it looks like it's going to. So and then that little rack ruler is just basically it's just a way for us to be able to get something on the drawing here that lets us see where things are going to be located within the rack. So those are all things that we can do in getting a rack drawing put together quickly, leveraging the information that's in the project. And then the last piece of the puzzle would be to build a schematic, basically a point-to-point connection drawing. Now here we leverage both our rough-in wire as well as our finish wire. So in this scenario, I've got my Sony surround receiver, excuse me, and it's going to be back at my head end, obviously, my remote equipment location. So now I'm going to start picking up inputs and outputs. Now this is again where we actually provide some custom, some little stencils that we've built. Our 80, I think it's and bear in mind that for 12 years we were audio design, so we've still got a lot of stuff that's prefixed AD and not BlueDog yet for our design services. So what we've always done, if you look at our sample drawings, we like to have some color to help everybody just kind of better visualize where things are. So in this scenario, we'll send both of these to the back. In this scenario, this could be my family remote equipment, and this would be my family. So now what I can do is take my, say, my owner furnished cable box. Okay, so in a system, lots of owner furnished cable boxes and satellite receivers and things of that nature. Looks like I inadvertently double clicked. Yes, I did. Let's just cry. So what I want to do now is I want to get my cable box with its power cord, its IR emitter, its F cable, and its HDMI cable, and I'll get those pulled onto the page, which is going to give me the ability to, again, by simply basically just connecting the dots, allows me to show what we refer to as our left side connections. So I've got my power cord, I've got my IR emitter that I can go ahead and connect to an output of a control receiver. I've got my F cable. I can use that in creating a CATV distribution drawing, and I've got my HDMI output to an HDMI input. We'll do that. Let's get this up. That's not what I wanted. Try this again. All I really wanted to do was drag that in between. There you go, a little room. So now, if that's at my equipment rack location, I've got an extender kit, and this again is going to leverage our in the box items. So in this extender kit, I've got a transmitter, I've got a receiver, and I've got its power supply. So I can put that on the page. And I can get my transmitter over here. I can hook up get its power supply ready to go. I can get my receiver over here in the family room. And let's go ahead and grab HDMI cables for that. And again, all of these are going to be recommends as accessories. So as you drop in this kit, the default parts are going to be included, the things that come in the box. The prompts, like the HDMI cables, just help you capture the accessories that are required to get this system installed. And in this case, that's not where I want this. I want this on my HDMI output. I'm going to take this to my HDMI input. Let's move this out of the way a little bit. And we'll get our TV now. So we've got a Sony up here. And if you recall, back over here on our plan view page, wherever plan view was, here it is. So I've got a Cat 6 shielded twisted pair for HD base T. So now I can leverage that in my schematic drawing. That's going to be right here. Go ahead and pull this in, and this lets me make the connection across, across the building basically. So now I can take my HD base T output to my HD base T input. If we zoom in, you can see the labeling of that. Basically, this is an RJ45 connector. It's data PoE is the signal. HD base T out is the label for it. Likewise, in terms of the connection over here, we can get this kind of lined up. And now we make our HDMI connection, and we've basically finished the signal path. So that is the basics of how we use the items in the project to create the engineering drawings that we want to send out to the field. So you guys have been very good about asking questions. Did I answer all the questions, or are you just sitting there taking notes?
You lost us in the first 30 seconds. Can you start over?
You bet. It's called recorded.
Oh yeah, good point. Hey, so this has been very helpful. Thank you. One initial question I've got, Kurt, is so say that we always do Integra and Sony, and we say that we've got 80% of a schematic already done on a previous project.
Yeah.
What are our options from leveraging an existing schematic drawing that we would have done already using this method to